In this video we are going to understand when is the 70th week actually begins. We know the 70 weeks prophecy has begun with the command or the decree of King Cyrus 444 BC. If you want to learn more about the first 69 week of 70 weeks, click the link or you can continue to watch this video. We are focusing only on the last 70th week in this video. Let us examine and understand how to recognize that the last 70th week of prophecy. After 2,000 years long gap, how can we be sure or recognize the last 7 years or the 70th week? In order to understand, we need to take the help from the 69 weeks. How the 69 weeks were started at the beginning of this 70 weeks prophecy. The same keyword we need to use here to understand, to know about this prophecy. Verse 25, know therefore and understand. Here is the key word, to understand or to know, that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem until the Messiah the Prince. This is the key to unlock 70th week. From the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem, the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. This means even during tribulation the Jerusalem will be rebuilt. Now the remaining last 1 week or 7 years are from the 70 weeks prophecy. We are going to unlock it. Daniel 9 verse 26, and the people of the prince who shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The prince who shall come after 69 weeks, and he is elected by people. That is why he is called people of the prince. He shall destroy city, not necessarily literal city, it can be people of God. And even if it is literal city, that will be desolated at the end of 70th week. And it says the end thereof shall be with a flood, and until the end of the war desolations are determined. Verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. How can we recognize the people of the prince who shall come in modern days? Every president or a leader elected by people. It is important to remember and understand the keyword, that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem. If anyone give order to rebuild the Jerusalem. What is rebuilding? It means bringing back Jerusalem back to its original status. You can also say like this: make Jerusalem great again. When someone order to give back its greatness or status, that is when you can recognize the prophecy of 70th week has activated. But if you see in Revelation, you have two beasts and behaving, same behavior or character of Antichrist, but the power to Antichrist was given only 3.5 years. Another beast also ruled for 3.5 years before Antichrist appeared. So remember that there are more than one Antichrist. This prince or the government which is elected by the people starts with order or commanding of restoring the Jerusalem. Let us read further more carefully. Daniel 9 verse 26, and the people of the prince who shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Who is the people of the prince? How do we recognize him? Number 1. He or the government has to give order or command to rebuild the Jerusalem. Number 2. The government has to or able to make covenant or agreement with many nations. Number 3. Agreement should be for 1 week or it should be 7 years. Agreement or a deal. Let us identify who is he here. He means the government make covenants with many nations for 1 week. 1 week means 7 days, which is equal to 7 years. Is this government rules for 7 years? No, not necessary. This is actually 7 years covenant signed by several nations for the peace. Even if the government is not in rule after this deal, the agreement is valid or active for 7 years. Who is the people of the prince? How do we recognize him? Number 1. He or the government has to give order or command to rebuild the Jerusalem. This was fulfilled in the year of 2017, December 6th, and announced by U.S. government Jerusalem as the capital city of Israel. Is this the beginning date for the last 70th week? No, we cannot say it is starting point. This commanding about Jerusalem is only the key word to understand the prophecy, but not the starting point. In order to understand, we need to count from the first day of this government rule for 7 years, because in the middle of the week sacrifices are stopped. Number 2. The government has to or able to make covenant or agreement with many nations. Number 3. Agreement should be for 1 week or it should be 7 years agreement or deal. All these three were fulfilled by U.S. government in 2016 to 2020 starting September 4, 2016 if you count for 7 years it's going to be 2023 September. Let us continue to read. It says covenant with many for 1 week. Why time is given for 1 week? That means we need to count the 7 years. From the day of his ruling, that is the election day of USA, and in the midst of the week. He shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. Remember, we count for 1 week or 7 years from the date of his or this government elected until 7 years which was given for peace deals. If we count 3.5 years from the date of election, that is September 4, 2016, to adding 3.5 years, we get the date around April 2020, which will be the middle of the week. Let us read more. He shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. He shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. How this government is the cause for the sacrifices to cease or stop as soon as he or this government announced about Jerusalem they have dedicated altar and started to sacrifices. This government is cause for starting sacrifices in Jerusalem. How this government is the cause for the sacrifices to cease or stop. It could be the cause because he activated or fulfilled the prophecy by commanding about Jerusalem. Or it could be the government's secret operation which we don't know. This government causes to stop the sacrifice not just in Jerusalem, but now after 3.5 years of this government all stopped due to virus they have shut down or due to virus they have shut down or locked down whole world due to virus for the reason of peace and safety. Lockdown imposed all over the world. Oblation to cease. This word meaning can be our regular form of church services or regular form of worship has stopped due to lockdown, and for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. What is abomination? Luke chapter 16 verse 15. According to Luke, for what is high among men is an abomination in the sight of God. We know the abomination spread with this virus. It is the technology which is high or great in the sight of men in our modern time. This will spread or lead to complete desolation or destruction of the world. According to Psalms 14 verse, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God, they are corrupt, they have done abominable works, there is none that doth good. Luke chapter 21 verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near. When the lockdown was implemented all over the world, including Jerusalem compassed with the army, not to gather for any purpose, not even for sacrifices or prayers or churches. From this time we know the abomination that makes desolation will be setting up in the temple of God is very near. According to Daniel chapter 12 verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. If you count 1290 with 360 day per year, you will have 3.5 years. So from the time of middle of first 1 week. That is from April 2020, adding 3.5 years to it, you will come up to the date of abomination set up, that is 2023. September 30th they shall place there the abomination that maketh desolate. That is the date exactly falling in winter. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24 verse 15 to 22, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand, then let them that be in Judea flee unto the mountains. Let him that is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him that is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And unless those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect sarke. Those days shall be shortened. Pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So from the abomination that set up the great tribulation begins, and this period is called time of trouble. Antichrist will take over the world and rule the world for 3.5 years. We identified 3 times 3.5 years, number 1 or first 3.5 years, from announcement or command going forth Jerusalem as capital of Israel, that is November 4, 2016, until the lockdown due to virus, that is April 2020. Number 2 second 3.5 years, from the time of lockdown due to virus, that is in April 2020, until abomination setup, that will be September 30, 2023. Number 3 third 3.5 years, from abomination setting up. That is September 30, 2023, until Christ's second coming, that would be March 2027. How did we come to conclusion after the last 3 years Christ will come? Let us read Daniel chapter 12 verse 7. And I heard the man clothed in linen, who was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half, and when he shall have accomplished scattering the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. If you remember that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24, when you see the abomination set up, you should not go back to get your things, in other words, hide or run, escape from Antichrist. This is the time every believer will be scattered, and the great tribulation also begins in this period. I have questioned how long the tribulation last. I heard many say 7-year tribulation, but we see here only 3.5 years. The answer is here according to Daniel chapter 8 verse 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint who spoke, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And verse 14, and he said unto me, Until 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. 2,300 days, count with 360 days per year. We will get the number of years are around 7 years. Here we understood tribulation divided 2 sections. First 3.5 years are just the tribulation. It is also called birth pain. Second 3.5 years are called great tribulation, because it is so worse than ever since the creation of the world. In our next video we are going to study about 7 plagues, when they begins, and trumpet and seals. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave below the comment section. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share to many, so that you may be partaker of Christ's ministry on earth through his servants, saving the souls for eternal life and eternal kingdom of God. Thank you again. God bless you all.